Toronto real estate is a hot topic in the news and has been for months. So if you're curious about what the market did in August 2023, you're going to want to listen up. My name is Candace Schott with the Schott team at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Toronto Realty, and I'm here to break down the numbers for you. So we have some pretty big factors affecting the Toronto real estate market. When we look at the cost to borrow compared to what it was last year or 2 years ago, when we have the looming increases every single month and a half, when we're waiting for the Bank of Canada to announce whether or not they're going to increase the rates, and luckily they didn't in September. For the first time in a while, they've paused. Let's hope this stays like this for quite some time. And naturally, our supply constraints. We have been in tight supply issues for as long as I can remember, but with all the changes currently happening in the market, we definitely are experiencing tighter than usual supply. So of course, when our demand outweighs our supply, that's a huge problem in itself as well. So here we are, month of September. I'm going to report on the August 22 numbers. Let's take a look at what we're looking at. Now, when I talk about the numbers, I'm going to cover the GTA first, but then we're going to drill down to the 416 because, let's face it, I'm in Toronto, and for those of you watching, you're likely looking for those Toronto numbers. For those of you in the GTA, we could talk about GTA numbers offline, like, comment, or just leave the information for you below, and I'll get in touch with you directly, and we'll talk GTA later. Okay, so let's talk GTA August 2023. We looked at roughly 5,300 sales for the month of August compared to August of 2022, where we were sitting at around 5,600. So that's about a 5% dip in our sales. Why is that a big deal? Well, it's really not that big of a deal. It's seasonally low. Where it's a big deal is when we actually break down where we saw those trends in the neighborhoods. GTA as a whole was down, but if you really dig down into Lawrence Park or Riverdale or Leslieville or Hyde Park, that's where we really saw the inventory constraints this summer. It was incredibly slow. Now, when it comes to our average price point for the GTA, the average price point for all home types, detached, semi, townhouses, and condos, we saw an average price point of about $1,083,000, and in 2022, we were sitting at $1,079,000. So we're basically pretty much even keel when it comes to the average price point. Now, those price points change again when we break it down to the segments of detached, semi, townhouses, and condos. So let's first take a look at what the sales were like in those segments, and then we're going to break down the price. So when it comes to detached home sales were actually down 11.2% in August compared to August of 2022. We're definitely seeing the impact of these higher rates and people not wanting to upgrade to another house as much as they have before. Now, the sale of semis and the sale of townhouses were actually up. Semis were up 9%, townhouses were up just over 6%, and condos were down by about 1.8%. Now, condos are going to be interesting moving forward because we're starting to see, as of September, a lot more inventory hit the market. We are seeing roughly in the GTA, just in central Toronto, roughly 100 condo listings a day. That doesn't include west, east, or the surrounding GTA. So I think that we're going to see quite a few condos hit the market. Not only we have some investors that are starting not necessarily to see a positive cash flow and they're deciding to sell their units, but then we also have people that have assignment sales that are supposed to close in the future and may not be able to. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the condo market over the next couple of months. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot on the market. Buyers are going to have a lot of choice, and we're going to see some price dilution for sure in that area. Now, are we going to see the same thing for detached homes? I don't know. I don't think we're going to see nearly the impact for detached as we would condos because, of course, owning land in Toronto is a pretty big deal because, well, we basically have nowhere else to build. So if you owned a detached home on a piece of land in a really great neighborhood, you're likely still doing really well. Now, if we break down the price points of the segments, and again, I'm only talking 416, the detached homes have actually done pretty well. They're only down by the average price point by less than 1%. So detached homes are holding their own. Now, when it comes to semis are actually up 12% on the average sale price between last year and this August. Now, what's going to happen in September, I don't know, but I do know that because we had a massive lack of inventory in the month of August, that some of the houses did really well. We were in an offer 2 weeks ago in Lawrence Park. It was a great house, but they had literally nothing else for sale. The house was listed for $2.2 million and they got 14 offers. So when we are in an environment of a lack of inventory and we still have a lot of buyers out there, because of course we still have demand, we're still going to see in those really great neighborhoods and those really great houses, we're still going to see a fight for that house. So there's a prime example of what happens when we have a lack of supply. Now when it comes to townhouses and condos, we saw both of them rise in the average price. Townhouses went up 15%, and condos went up 6% in August. And again, that is really showing that we had a lack of supply over the summer, and it shows the affordability factor. Not everybody can afford a semi-detached, and townhomes and condos are really great alternatives to getting into the market to become a homeowner in Toronto. So it makes sense as to why those are doing really well. But again, those condos and that average price point, we're about to see that change for the next quarter for sure. Now moving forward, what can we expect? What's going to be like for September, October, and Q4? So we are expecting some volatility in the market when it comes to the amount of sales that are going to happen as well as the sale prices, because of course there's still uncertainty around what's going to happen with our interest rates. We are definitely crossing our fingers that there's no more changes, but there is talks that we're going to expect maybe one more bump of 25 basis points. So we'll see if that happens, whether it happens in October or towards the end of the year. And naturally, we're also sitting around to see what's going to happen with our overall economy. So there's a lot that's going to happen in Q4. We're just going to be sitting by the sidelines and waiting to see how we fare, not only in the September market, because it's busier than it has been in the summer, but of course, how those factors are going to affect the market. Lastly, before I go, one thing to mention, City of Toronto did announce that they're going to be implementing the mansion tax. So as of January 1st, 2024, if you are somebody who's looking to buy a house over the $3 million mark, you can now expect a higher land transfer tax. What does that look like quickly? If you're buying 3 to 4 million, it's an additional 3.5% land transfer tax on top of your purchase price. If you're doing 4 to 5 million, it's 4.5% land transfer tax. If you're doing 5 to 10, it's going to be 5.5% land transfer tax. If you're out there buying that $10 million house to 20, you're 6.5%. So you buy a $10 million house, you're going to pay a $650,000 land transfer tax on that house. And for those of you who can afford $20 million houses, you're going to be paying 7.5% land transfer tax. So that's all for me right now. I don't want to keep this very long. If any of you would like more information, neighborhood specific, because we know that these numbers are generic, and when you break it down by neighborhood, it can look very different. So whether you live in Leslieville, Riverdale, Ronces, Hyde Park, Bloor Park, Lawrence Park, Moore Park, there's so many amazing neighborhoods out there. Know that your neighborhood is going to be very different from somebody else's. So if you want some further information on yours specifically, follow, comment, and like below, and I'd be happy to help at any point. Hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I'll see you soon.